Welcome back to the blacksmith shop today. We're going to take our Grizzly 2x42 grinder and get it back to the garage so we can add some attachments to it. We've been using this grinder for knife making, and the smallest radius are these 2-inch wheels on the platen, and they're just a little bit too big to make a finger well on the knife handle. So we're going to take that back to the shop and see if we can make it better. Also, over the last couple days, we got our forge press moved in here. It's looking pretty good. We did have to move our little Harbor Freight anvil underneath the workbench. There's just not enough room for everything in here. First thing we need to do, give it a little cleanup so we can see what's going on. So our two projects for today are to convert this small wheel holder set and this 8-inch contact wheel to fit our Grizzly 2x42 knife making belt sander grinder. I'm sure it's going to go about like you expect. Now I did pick up some lengths of this 1-inch by, I don't know, maybe a 1/4 inch. I think it's the same size as what's holding the platen in place now. We're going to need some of those. First thing we need to do is take the belt off and remove the platen. The belt just should pull down on this tensioner, push it out of the way, and the platen should pretty much just slide right out of here. That was easy enough. I do see we have kind of a bent problem here. This was the platen hold down arm. I'm not sure what I did to break it, but I'm sure I did something. We're going to see if we can straighten that up a little bit. And all we're going to do is take our little propane torch. All right, so we have the belt kind of back in position, and we have the small wheel holder in position. I stuck one of our new rods in, and it looks like we're going to have to cut off quite a bit of this bar. So we're going to cut it right behind that notch. You can see right there. To give us enough room to bolt that to that new bar and make it all work. We're just going to cut right down on an angle. Change over to a grinding wheel and clean this thing up a little bit. All right, now we have our super modified small wheel holding bracket. Let's see if we can get it attached. Now looking at the spacing up here, the belt looks like maybe it's a 1/4 inch off of this inside metal plate, which means we're probably going to have to space this thing over just a little bit. But let's drill the holes. You can always find some washers or something to put in there. All right, now one of the holes is obvious, that big one right there. But we need to get another hole up here in the front, and obviously there's some things in the way. We could come all the way up here in the way front and drill a hole and just pick up that bar there. That might be the best option. Drill the obvious hole first, then we'll figure something else out. So the kit came with this big bolt to go through the hole. It's going to be a little bit longer than what we need. So I have this nice grade 8 bolt sitting around and a nice lock nut for it. So we're going to use that instead. We need to mark a spot somewhere on here to drill a hole. Put a little drop of oil on the bit, just to give it a shot of being good. We need to kind of get it fairly centered. I guess that's mostly centered. All right, we have that hole mostly in the middle. So with our first hole located, I think what we need to do is grind this little reinforcement tab off so that thing can sit flush, and then we'll drill another hole. right, now we need to hold our piece up here and drill another hole in this end over here. And this attachment will be just about done. All right, so we have it bolted on in the back. We kind of have it lined up here on the top. We may push that down just slightly and drill a hole right through here, hopefully staying clear of where the wheels are going to go. So we're going to test all the wheels, make sure we don't screw it up. So based on the largest wheel, the bolt will just barely clear. Now I do see that we screwed up a little bit. That stop piece was designed to stop this bearing from sliding out. We may need to re-drill that big hole in the other end and just make it stick out a little bit further. Bad planning. All right, we have our second hole in there. We're going to use a little bit different bolt. The original has a little flange around the edge. Since I had to drill this hole so close to the edge, we have to get the flat of the bolt lined up on one side, which is okay. It is the same length, so all we have to do is try to hold the camera and put this thing on. And that should be it. Let me get that tightened down. We'll put the belt on, see how it runs. All right, the tracking was slightly off. I think I know what the issue is. This little end plate that's original is recessed just slightly to the outside, but our new bar is flush. So I'm going to take it back apart, and we're just going to grind a little bit off of our flat bar here on the side, and that will allow these wheels to sit nice and flush. All right, so that should do it. We ground just a little bit of a bevel right there at the end. We have the small wheel attachment hooked up. As you can see here, we have a piece of 1 inch by 1/4, 1 foot long. Goes all the way to the back. It's locked in with the normal lockdown. We have 2 bolts here. This one clears just fine. It is tracking just a little bit to the inside. So yeah, we're gonna have to work on the tracking a little bit. Let's go ahead and pick up the speed just a little bit. Tracking is still drifting to the inside. All right, we have the smallest wheel in place. Seems to be tracking pretty good. We're definitely sitting wide on the tracking wheel. Don't like that. It's sitting pretty good on the back wheel, but it's definitely leaning to the outside. So we might need to do some adjustment with washers or something. We're not sure. All right, we got the tracking a little bit better. We added a washer right here just to space it out. I think the biggest problem with that spacing is the original platen came with this rod, and this is the one we picked up that is a 1/4 inch wide. I don't know if that's a metric measurement or what it is, but it's just a little bit thicker. We're gonna have to work something out. All right, we went to Lowe's, picked up a 1/2 inch bolt, 4 inches long. I did pick up 4 washers just so we could space this thing in and out as needed. And then we'll figure that out and cut this bolt off when everything's nice and good. But for now, let's put the belt on it and see if that works. All right, we cut a little shim out of a bandsaw blade and stuck in there to help make that nice and tight. We have our tracking set up pretty well. Looks like it's just about over the tensioning wheel. And it's pretty good on the back drum. I think based on that, we could probably take 1 washer out and get it a little bit closer. Let's do that. All right, for the 8-inch contact wheel, we ended up with a 1/2 inch bolt, 4 inches long. I'm gonna leave it a little bit long in case I wanna do some adjustments later. I did have to put 3 washers in between our 1 inch by 0.25 support arm. The support arm is all the way in where the washers are touching the green base, but it's good enough. We have just enough room to push the tensioner down and let it go. Let's go ahead and turn this thing on real quick. So it's tracking really nice, tracking really good up here, and tracking pretty good back on the motor. So that's our 8-inch contact wheel on our 2x42 Grizzly grinder. All right, we went back to our small wheel attachment. We added this little shim in here. Let me show you what that looks like. So all this shim is a piece of my sawmill bandsaw blade. I heated up this end and bent it over at 90 degrees so it doesn't get lost down in that channel. And it pretty much spaces out this 1/4-inch material to about the same as whatever, I'm trying to do this with one hand, spaces it out to about the same as whatever the stock Grizzly 2x42 material is, which was this. It seems to work pretty good. All right, everything seems to be adjusted fairly well. One thing I don't like about this small wheel kit or small wheel holder that I have, when you put the wheels into the bracket, there's nothing to keep them from rolling out. Now, last time I was trying to set it up, I dropped one and the bearing on one end came apart. It's not a big deal. I'm sure I have one of these bearings somewhere. Just be super careful while you're putting your belt on that this thing doesn't roll out on the floor. I wonder if there's something we could do to fix that. Also, while we're adjusting things on this Grizzly 2x42 grinder, I took this platen cover off. You can see we've already worn a hole through it. It was just kind of glued onto this metal piece. So we'll clean this up a little bit. We'll just run it on the metal until I can get another piece of angle iron to put in there. All right, we're back to the platen attachment. Now the good thing is, tracking is the same. In all three attachments, I don't have to change the tracking wheel at all. So that's good. The only difference when changing to the other wheels, I have to put this shim in on the outside of this arm. It just goes something like that, right along the edge. All right, so that's going to do it for our Grizzly 2.42 knife-making belt sander grinder. We now have an 8-inch contact wheel. We also have our small wheel adapter working. And we got our platen all straightened out. So next time, meet me up at the blacksmith shop. We'll make something. But you guys get outside, do something fun. Come back and tell me about it.